Hi, welcome everyone. Um, I'm Ann Fulenwider. I'm one of the co-founders and co-CEOs of Alloy Women's Health, and I'm thrilled to have Keri Glassman here to discuss how we can all live our most nutritious life at this phase of our lives. I'm going to do quite a bit of talking right now, and then I'm going to really ask Keri some questions. But FYI, I have a little bit of a cough, so if I put myself on mute, it's to save you guys from the sound of my cough. Just momentarily. So, and then we'll just do an intro, and then we're gonna I'm gonna ask Keri some questions, and then about half an hour in, we're gonna start taking your questions as well. And if you just want to pop those in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, the chat is going to be disabled for this, but the Q&A is there, and we'll be monitoring those questions and getting to as many as we can. So welcome again, Keri. I'm so thrilled to have you here. Keri is
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm starting to brag about you already. I'm thrilled you could join us. This is great. Keri's a renowned nutritionist and the founder and CEO of Nutritious Life, a lifestyle and media company devoted to helping individuals discover and live their most nutritious and happiest lives. Keri received her master's in clinical nutrition from New York University, built a successful private practice as a dietitian in New York City, and then she founded the Nutritious Life Studio, her online nutrition coaching business. She's also an adjunct professor at NYU in their master's program, Nutrition and Food Studies Department. She's the author of 4 books, which all have really great titles, by the way, and is frequently featured on all the several national television programs, including The Today Show, where I think you're like a special contributor, Good Morning America, The View, Rachel Ray, so many more. Little bonus, Keri and I also went to elementary school together, but haven't really seen each other since about 6th grade, and really happy to overlap professionally now. And Keri's also a big fan of our M4 face cream.
Love it.
So we will be dropping in the chat or the Q&A section some codes for you. You may have seen them at the beginning, so you can get a discount at Nutritious Life. You can get a discount at Alloy. But we're just so thrilled you're here. So Keri, one of the biggest questions, and then I'll stop talking and let you talk. One of the biggest questions we get from our Alloy customers is about nutrition and exercise and sleep, and sort of what do I need to do differently now that I'm at this stage in my life. We at Alloy, we're really committed to getting menopausal and perimenopausal women the science-based information and medically vetted solutions in perimenopause and menopause. So we offer access to menopause trained physicians and prescriptions at myalloy.com, and we mail those right to your door. And a lot of our mission is to demystify and clear up the misconceptions about hormones and menopause. But once we solve her symptoms with most usually the correct menopausal hormonal therapy or hormone replacement therapy, we still all have questions because, okay, we've solved the hot flashes, but what do I do now about my weight, my sleep, my stress? What should I do to exercise? So this is where you come in. I'm going to ask you lots of questions, but what generally do you tell your midlife women about how to take the best care of themselves?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is such a hot topic. No menopause, pun intended. It is a hot topic right now in the world. And I'm so happy for all the work that you're doing at Alloy to help women through this stage of life, because it is something that first and foremost, we should not feel shame over. We should, I know it's hard to say embrace, because who really gets excited about this stage, but we should embrace the fact that we are getting older. We're here, we're living, and it's not a time to say, oh no, life is over. Oh no, I feel terrible. It can be a time where we say we're moving into just another exciting phase of life, but we want to enjoy it to the best we can, right? So I'm happy that the conversation's happening. I'm happy that there's companies like yours out there educating and creating solutions for women during this stage of life, which again, doesn't have to be shameful, can be really exciting, exhilarating, and amazing. So with all
and once you solve those, like once you sort of get a hold of your body, and which can be challenging, right? That's why we're here today. But once you get that sort of under control, I'm finding this to be a very liberating time of life and very exciting. Like there's so much great stuff to, like, I don't care so much about what people think of me. My kids are growing up and don't want to be with me all the time. And I'm kind of, decided to start a company about it.
Absolutely. It's funny. I remember when I was going through puberty, this is just a funny little flashback I'm having here. I remember, being really hormonal and just that typical teenage moody, whatever, and crying for no reason. And I remember my mom just saying to me, first of all, this is totally normal. Like you're like crying and feeling that this is kind of what you're supposed to be doing as a teenager right now. Like, this is totally normal. This is hormonal. And I remember feeling this sense of relief, like, okay, something I'm not going crazy. There's nothing like crazy happening here. And I sometimes have to remind myself of that exact thing now at this stage of life. So the first thing I always like to tell people is, first of all, this is totally normal. If you feel like cranky at your partner every day, if you're short-tempered with your children, if you feel like you're going from happy to irritable to sad to elated, like that can totally be normal as well. So first of all, just like normalizing it, like, there's a lot going on with your hormones. There is, and that's okay. But how do we manage all of that, right? So what I like to do for people is to help them minimize their symptoms so they can feel good, and at the same time, optimize their health for the future. Because when you go through menopause, you then are at risk for osteoporosis. You're at greater risk for cardiovascular disease. You're at greater risk for diabetes. Like, as you go through this stage of life, you are then at greater risk for disease in the future. So it's all about minimizing your symptoms going through this stage, but then also at the same time, looking towards the future, you want to be maximizing your nutrition and your lifestyle so that you are then optimizing your health in the future. So you don't have those bone fractures. So you don't have cardiovascular disease. So you reduce your chances of cancer. So you keep your brain function as, optimal as possible. So it's
And I'm
again,
throwing a little plug that a lot of that basics, like sort of at the root cause, can be addressed with estrogen and hormone replacement therapy, which is safer it's incredibly safe and vetted and the most studied thing in the world for many, many more women than we thought. The vast majority of healthy women are eligible for hormone replacement therapy. But I had a doctor tell me, and this is exactly what I want to talk to you about, like, this is this moment in your life at menopause or perimenopause where you have an opportunity to create your health or extend your health span as well as your lifespan. Like, how do we intentionally go about optimizing, as you say, our bodies and our minds for the next, ideally, 30 or 40 years of life?
right. And you're absolutely right, because it's during this time, all of a sudden, estrogen drops, your muscle mass drops, your bone density drops, your gut health, let's say, you don't stay up with your gut health, and that can affect, your brain health. And then, I mean, there's so many different risk factors can come up if you don't manage your health properly at this time, which, again, something we were talking about before. One of the first things I tell people, in order to do this, minimize symptoms to maximize your optimal health also in the future, what you're going to end up doing is, there's good news and bad news here. So the good news is, most of these things you've heard of, most of these things you might already be doing. The bad news is, most of these things you've heard of and you may already be doing. It's not a magic pill, right? So that's the good and the bad. So what I mean there is,
so we really have to do them now. Like,
so now you really
maybe we got away with not doing them
but
so much.
that's exactly it. It really is, and as the name of my business is Nutritious Life, and Nutritious Life, I always say, it's not all about the food. Nutritious Life involves all these 8 pillars, including, sweat often, which is, your movement pillar, sleep deep, which is your sleep pillar, stress less, which is your managing your stress pillar, live consciously. What are you putting into your body? What toxins? What's your environment like? Love more, your relationship pillar. All of these different things become more important at this time. They were always important, but they become even more important. So essentially, what we need to do during this phase of life is double down on all of those things, again, that we probably have learned about, we've probably heard, may have gone in one ear out the other, or maybe we do them, but we don't do them consistently, or maybe we do them consistently, but we don't really do them well enough consistently. And now is the time to take it to the next level. So those days of, well, I eat pretty well, but then, I can go away for a week on vacation and drink too much, not sleep, eat junk. And, I eat well for 2 days and boom, the weight's off. I feel great again. That doesn't happen. You can't snap back like that. You can't do that. That's not to say that you can't indulge in sweets and drink too much one night, and not saying that you're not going to be able to live and do those things, and you have to eat absolutely meticulously and do every little thing meticulously 365 days of the year. No, but you need to be a lot more consistent, and you need to up level everything you're doing if you want to improve your symptoms of menopause, if you want to maximize your health going forward, and if you want to maintain and or lose your weight. You're going to have to do those things. It's not like you just can't kind of get away with, eating well, kind of most of the time. I mean, it is a 99% of the time, and that's just the way it is. But you have the choice, right? You have that choice, and there are so many things that we can do to maximize our health and to improve our health. So let's dive into some of those things that we can do.
And I want to just let everyone know, thank you so much for the questions that are coming in. We will definitely get to those about halfway through at about the 35-minute mark, hopefully. And we'll get to as many as we can. But Keri, this is all making sense. It also can sound a little overwhelming. Right. So like, where do I start? I love the other day you were talking about hydration. Let's just start there. Something we can all do.
So something as simple as hydration, right? Are you drinking? And again, the 64 ounces a day, by the way, is a little bit of a myth. It's not every single person out there needs 8 cups of water a day, the 64 ounces. Obviously, some people need more, some people need less, but I usually say that as a goal because one, it's easy to get a 32-ounce water bottle and fill it twice, then at least you're getting those 64 ounces. The other thing is most people aren't getting enough. So at least, again, it is a goal getting there. Some people might need more. But it is a pretty good goal. And the reason I like people to focus on hydration, again, one, are you actually really doing it? Many people have been told this and they know, and maybe they carry a water bottle, but do they really do it? Are you really getting that in? It is critical for many different reasons. So we're going to start with some of the basics that you've probably heard. Okay, it's good for your skin health, right? We are mostly water. Our bodies are mostly water. We need water for every single metabolic process. So when we are not properly hydrated, our metabolism is actually lowered. It's about 3%. So there is a little bit of a metabolic action there that happens just from being properly hydrated. So by being properly hydrated, we're going to have, again, it is not a magic pill for metabolism. However, we're upping our chances of our metabolism working at its best. So that's another reason. When we are properly hydrated, we're not going to think we're hungry when we're actually just thirsty. So it can help control our hunger. So those are just a few reasons that you've probably already heard of. So what did we talk about? Skin, metabolism, we need it for all metabolic processes, all of that. So let's just go a step further here, why it becomes even more important during the stage. One, our metabolisms can start to drop. As our estrogen decreases, our metabolism can start to drop. As our muscle mass decreases with sarcopenia, as we age, as our estrogen drops, we already are at risk for muscle mass decreasing. When muscle mass decreases, our metabolism is also going to decrease. So we're already fighting against that. So by doing something as simple as staying hydrated, we are now just doing something that we know we're stacking the deck in our favor, right? We're doing that. The other thing is that during this phase of life, perimenopause and menopause, we can feel brain foggy. We can feel, like we already talked about, moodier. We can feel depressed. We can be more stressed more easily. We don't respond to stress as well. We react more. We're not as, it's like we don't have our defenses there a little bit down. So it's like we're just more reactive. So something as simple as staying hydrated can also help there. And that is because when you are dehydrated, and you don't even need to be that dehydrated for this to happen, you can feel more depressed. Your body is stressed. So you can feel more depressed and you can be stressed just by simply not being properly hydrated. So again, going back to this sort of thing of doubling down on some of these things we've known we should do. We used to be able to, how many, don't you have friends that would even say in college, like, I don't even know if I've drank water in 2 days. I've had coffee, I had a beer maybe, but I don't even think I've had water in 2 days. I mean, there are people that still do that. Like, I barely drink water. I barely go to the bathroom. I mean, some people just have not made it a habit. And even if they have made it a habit, again, maybe you need a little more. Maybe you need some electrolytes in your water. Perhaps, you live in an environment where you actually need more than those 64 ounces. So Again, it's just important for all of those basic reasons that we kind of, or maybe you didn't know, but now you do know: metabolism, overall metabolic function, all of that, skin health, but now you also need it for those other reasons, for
I
reducing
like this because I can
depression
do
and
this.
stress.
I can
Yeah.
drink water,
Well,
right? This is
so
very
that's what I'm
actionable.
saying. This isn't anything so, okay, wait, so she's telling me to drink water? But it's not anything so, revolutionary here. But the point is that you have to do it, and you got to do it consistently. And that alone going to change your hot flashes? For some people, it might. That one change alone might. For many people, it might not. Is that alone going to help you, keep your weight off? For some people, it might. For many people, it won't. But in conjunction with doing some of these other things that we're going to get to, again, you're stacking the deck in your favor. You're doing some of these little things. And many of these things, they don't cost money. They're not going to take much time. They're things that you can do consistently as part of your lifestyle to, again, minimize symptoms, maximize health going forward.
Okay, while we're on the subject of drinking, and we're really talking about drinking water, and I personally just have a bit of a cough here. I have water, OJ, and tea all sitting next to me, which I'll be drinking throughout. But question. I have friends, and we know this from our customers at Alloy as well, who have just decided at this stage of their life, they just don't want to drink any more alcohol, and they've stopped because they don't feel it. Like the hangovers are worse. The weight gain is more tactile. You notice it more quickly. And it was interrupting their sleep. So what do you tell people about alcohol?
Okay, so everything you just said, I hear all the time. And by the way, I've experienced this myself with alcohol. I never drank that much, but during this stage of life, I'd say probably the past 5 years, I noticed a dramatic shift, one triggering migraines. But even if I didn't get a migraine, I would notice, and I'm just talking about myself here, because this goes for many, many women that I've worked with have said the same thing, that waking up in the middle of the night more than they used to from alcohol. The feeling, that real anxiety feeling, like that hangxiety the next day.
I love this term. I hadn't heard this before.
A lot
Anxiety.
more. Yeah. Yeah. A lot more. They have felt that anxiety more again the next day, which again, many people have always felt that after drinking, but I think it's elevated with a lot of women during this stage. Brain fog the next day. My brain fog after drinking alcohol, dramatic difference. I always felt brain fog. I didn't feel clear and focused after. And again, that's only been in these past 5 years, and I turned 50 this year. So I'd say starting around 45, I started noticing that more. So that is very common. So what I tell people is, so first of all, you're already at risk for not sleeping as well during this stage of life. As your hormones shift, progesterone, estrogen, as they shift, you're already at risk for not sleeping as well, which we know has many health issues associated with it. So without getting off track there, let's just stay on the alcohol. So you're already at risk there, then alcohol can disrupt that even further, right? You are already at risk for, again, that brain fog, right? During this time, you could very well be experiencing brain fog. You are not going to metabolize alcohol as well as you age. That's just something across the board. As you age, you don't metabolize it as well, which is why many people say they can't drink as much as they get old when they get older. How many people say, oh, when I was in college, I could drink this much and now I can't. Regardless.
Yeah, well, all those things you're describing about how you feel the next day, I used to feel like that, after I'd gone to a party. But now
Right.
I feel like that sometimes if I've had more than one, maybe 2 glasses of wine, I can't do
Correct.
2 glasses without feeling like that anymore.
Absolutely. Right. So your body, so aside from even what's happening with menopause, just your body, as you age, you're not metabolizing that alcohol as well. So what do I tell people? And the other thing I was going to say is you're also, again, at risk for weight gain. And so now, alcohol, we know, is just these empty calories. And many people end up overeating when they drink alcohol. And then when you don't sleep, which we already just talked about, your hunger hormones are off the next day. Ghrelin, your hunger hormone, is increased the next day. And that's one of the reasons why after you've drank, what do you crave the next day? You're not generally craving, a spinach omelet on a slice of sourdough. You want like a bacon, egg, and cheese and a donut. And there's a reason for that. So I always say, listen, do you want to minimize your symptoms and do you want to maximize your health? Well, then you're going to have to decrease the alcohol. I mean, it's really very simple. And I don't like to be a buzzkill there, but it's really a choice.
Totally.
When it really is a choice there. And again, people, I say, can we do other things? Are there other things you can do? and then to still include alcohol in your life, sure, you can work on your exercise, you can work on your diet, you can work on supplements, you can maybe do, do your HRT. You can stay hydrated. There's lots of other things you can do. And if you want that to be your vice, great, go for it. That is a choice for you to make, but just know you are going to be putting yourself at greater risk. You are not going to be maximizing what you can be doing at this stage of life. And that is a choice. And by the way, no judgments, you know what I mean? If someone wants to continue doing that, but if you do want to minimize symptoms, also alcohol can also increase hot flashes. That's another thing I didn't even mention. So alcohol and hot flashes. So if you're having these struggles, that is a tool. If you drink alcohol and you want to minimize hot flashes and you want to minimize other symptoms and you want to improve focus and clarity and cognition in the future, you can do something about it. And so what I recommend is for women there is think about how much are you already drinking, cut it in half to begin with. And then cut it in half again. And if that's a point where, some women end up saying, God, I feel so great now. I don't even want to drink at all. And then they'll say, they'll save that one drink. I mean, that's sort of where I've gotten to. I usually have maybe one drink every couple of weeks, maybe one, sometimes it's even once a month. Sometimes I won't even have a drink for the month. And there's so many, by the way, amazing mocktails that you can make out there. There's so many great non-alcoholic. I mean, you're in New York, there's even non-alcoholic liquor stores now. So there's lots of ways that I understand that enjoyment of wanting to have that drink and sitting down, and it can be relaxing. But during this stage, if you really want to maximize what you can, I really do recommend decreasing it as much as possible. And again, like I said, no judgments if you want to keep it in, but just know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's really good advice. And I think, some of us have started drinking less just because of the punishing feeling the next day, but it's also really good to know what's going on in your body that is.
Well, and think about that though. That's your body telling you something. It's also like, wow, this must not be as good for me. This isn't really working for me. Like that was, so that's why I always like to think about that. How do you feel? How do you want to feel? And how do you feel when you drink?
So I want to get to like the protein and muscle kind of conversation, but first, can we just talk a little bit more, because you said this earlier and we hear this all the time, decrease your stress.
Yeah.
Like how are we, I feel like that is so overwhelming to hear sometimes, because you're like, it's almost stressful to hear that, because you're like, well, where do I begin? It's stressing me out.
Totally agree with you. Well, and I also think, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one thing I also say, like, with everyone, with people I work with, as the coaches that I coach, that I coach people to be nutrition and wellness coaches, and with individual clients. And if I'm ever talking to a group, like I always say, like, this is a stress-free environment. This conversation right here, this is stress-free. Anything we're doing is stress-free. So anything I recommend, like if it's stressing you out, thinking about reducing your alcohol, well, then work on the other things first. We'll get to that one next. Right. I don't want anything to feel stressful, because then that defeats the whole purpose, right? And we're all works in progress, and we're all like working on things as we go. So you shouldn't be working on your stress to the point that is stressing you out. I have to get my meditation in today. That is not the point. So the first thing that, I always like to tell people to do is think about if you've been trying to like incorporate meditation and for some reason it just doesn't really work, try a guided meditation. Don't try to sit there in silence. Don't try to do like a meditation that's a 20-minute meditation. Do a 5-minute guided meditation, and do it even on a walk. It doesn't have to be sitting there on your meditation pillow with a candle lit in perfect silence, in the perfect setting. Like that is stressful, because how many people do have that time or space? But maybe it's a walking meditation. But what can you do on a daily basis? And for some people, I just say, take a moment and breathe. Literally, like if you're someone that's at a desk in an office, I mean, many people are back in offices now, and you really feel like you don't have that time, and you don't have that system, it's just not part of your routine, just do something where you literally go, and if you don't have an office to yourself, go into the bathroom, go into a stall, shut the door, close your eyes, sit on the toilet for 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and literally just breathe. and just do some kind of breath where you're just breathing and calming your nervous system. And that might be the first thing that you do, but come up with something that you can do every day. But ideally, you will be doing some sort of whether it's a meditation every day, whether it's going outside and, barefoot and walking in the grass and grounding and breathing and using that as something that relieves stress for you. You know what I mean? You don't have to do a meditation. You don't have to go do the grounding, but what is something that is stress relieving to you and incorporating it into your daily life. So that's what I I would say to everybody here, anyone that's listening, think of something that you can do. Is it, one thing that I do when I'm really stressed, and I just feel like I need to regroup, I take a shower. Now, it's not always possible, depending upon the time and place. It's not always possible, but sometimes I'll just take a shower. It's sort of like this mental, physical, sort of just cleansing thing. It's a regroup, shower. Okay, I'm refreshed. So it doesn't have to be a meditation. It doesn't have to be those things, but what is something you can do? And then what is something, so that's something I would do if I'm feeling really stressed, but what is something I do on a daily basis is I do try to do a basic meditation every morning. But what I actually have switched doing too, or added in, trying to, for many people, doing something in the afternoon can even be better. So in the morning, that might be when you're more energetic. Our cortisol levels are raised, which is the stress hormone, which, by the way, isn't all bad. Stress, the hormone cortisol, many people, which is many people know is the stress hormone, they think of it as something bad. Got to reduce that cortisol, got to reduce that cortisol. It's less about reducing the cortisol, and it's more about having the cortisol in the right rhythm. We want our cortisol higher in the morning. It gives us energy. We can be more focused. It's actually even anti-inflammatory, and then we want it to go down as the day goes on. So if it still feels elevated, like in the afternoon, and you feel yourself being a little more tense, that might be a really great time to go and do something like a 5-minute meditation, lock yourself in your closet for 5 minutes and breathe. Sometimes what I'll even do is literally lie down on my bed for 5 minutes if I'm working at home, close the door, and just lie in silence for 5 minutes. It's not even a meditation. It's literally just lying in silence and breathing. So there's a lot of things you can do, but I would ask everyone that's listening right now, what is one thing you can do on a daily basis to sort of, reduce your stress?
I love that, because it seems also, I have had success in various different times of my life with meditation, always with listening to someone else tell me how to meditate for 5 minutes. Sometimes I really get into that, and lately it's not happening. So I love the idea of walking, or even just spending time in the garden, or just having a minute or 2 or 3 to just regroup. And actually, someone told us, it's not part of my life, but it's certainly part of many people's lives, that prayer can be really relaxing too, and a really great tool. Just a time to take a step back from your life.
But again, this is one of those things that many people have heard. Okay, I know I'm supposed to meditate, or I know I'm supposed to reduce my stress, but they're not doing consistently. And this, again, I'll say during this phase of life, this is one of those things. You have to take all of those things as seriously as you take any other part of your health, because all of these different things working together with all of these things working together will have really powerful results on your health, not only now reducing symptoms, but also in the future.
So this is something, you bring up cortisol, and when we first were reuniting after we knew each other in elementary school, but reuniting as adults in similar professions, it was so great to hear your thoughts and knowledge on cortisol, which is so interesting, because I do think of it as the stress, and I am someone who is on hormones for my perimenopausal symptoms. And so I thought, okay, I'll be fine. This is great. And I found myself still waking up at 4 a.m. just without any alcohol, on hormones. And I thought this was supposed to be solved. So you had a really interesting insight about sleep, really is what we want to talk about. But cortisol and sleep, I thought was really interesting. I'd never heard that before.
So cortisol, as I just mentioned, it's less about reducing it. I mean, for some people it needs to be reduced as well, but it's less about reducing, and it's more about balancing the rhythm of it, and what they call the cortisol curve. So cortisol, ideally we want higher in the morning for energy and focus, and then we want it to reduce and so it's the lowest at the end of the day as our melatonin, our sleep hormone, increases, and then we get ready, for sleep. So in the morning, ideally, you'll wake up, you'll have your cortisol, you'll have a surge of energy. That's actually why and naturally for me, even before I learned this, I just always have been that person that woke up and kind of wanted to get right to work because I'm the most focused, I'm my most energetic then. That's not to say that everybody operates that way, but to me, it kind of all makes sense with cortisol. So if you're waking up at 3, 4 in the morning, very often it's because your cortisol is disrupted. You don't have that curve. It's like the right time, the curve timing is off. And so you've got that cortisol waking you up kind of at that wrong time. So one thing that you can do there is you kind of want to get that curve back into a better rhythm. So one thing I think I had told you that I had started doing, and, you know, Andrew Huberman, many people are probably fans of him, you know, he talks a lot about this. And I've personally found it to be incredibly effective, is waiting to have your coffee, if you do drink coffee, for at least 90 minutes after you wake up. And what happens there is then when you wake up in the morning and you've got that cortisol, it's kind of got to do its thing. It clears out adenosine. It's got to do its natural thing and then start to decrease. So then when you have your caffeine after, which is going to kind of give you that little, you know, that caffeine buzz, it allows cortisol to sort of like have its normal slope. So if you have if you have caffeine at that same time, you're kind of disrupting what cortisol is naturally trying to do. So what I have found with that, with waiting to have the caffeine for that 90 minutes in the morning, is that my energy in the afternoon has increased dramatically. And I've also, by the way, this is not just me, I've heard like from many, many people. And again, I think that's one of the reasons that, you know, he's talked about that. And many other people have talked about that too, waiting to have your caffeine in the morning to help improve that cortisol curve, better energy in the evening, and then also much better sleep at night. So you're sort of naturally improving your cortisol slope by waiting to have your coffee in the morning.
Fascinating.
And then
I'll
also,
try it.
and the other things, by the way, that I just mentioned with improving just your whole nervous system and reducing your stress in general, relaxing your nervous system, improving, you know, the way you manage stress, that will also just help your cortisol as well. So that's also going to help that curve. So it's not just the caffeine, but the caffeine in conjunction with whatever it's meditation or grounding or whatever you're doing, those things together can help improve your cortisol curve, as well as, you know, even exercising the right way and reduce. And even by the way, we talked about hydration already. And I said, when you're not hydrated, that's increasing your cortisol. So if you're not properly hydrated, you're increasing your cortisol. So all of these things work together. When you're properly hydrated, you're going to decrease your cortisol there. So all of these things are going to work together. And that's always what I talk about with a nutritious life, not even just during the phase of perimenopause and menopause, but just in general. All of these pillars, stress, sleep, exercise, they all work together physiologically and behaviorally. So it's not just, oh, I'm staying hydrated. Okay, why is that supposed to be so great for me? I've already mentioned now like a bunch of other things, like how it's affecting, you know, your stress levels and your cortisol, your stress hormone. So all of these things, again, they work together. So like the more little things that you can do consistently, it's like 1 + 1 will be 3 and 3 plus another 1 will be 5, you know, or will be 7. And then, you know, and so on.
This is really, I love this because it's so actionable. It's so like, okay, I can do these things. I can drink water. I can go on a walking meditation. I can reduce my alcohol. I can, you know, hopefully I'm going to try this, drink coffee a little bit later in the morning. I'm always afraid of getting a caffeine withdrawal headache because I'm so addicted to coffee, but I'll do like 15-minute increments maybe and get up to 90 minutes.
Yeah, you don't have to I get but I'm so happy you just said that, because that's another thing. You don't have to start at 90 minutes. Start by waiting 15 minutes and then wait a half an hour, and also have a big glass of water first. Get a little hydrated first.
And I know, so I told everyone we'd start questions at 1:35. There's some really smart questions in there, but I want to quickly, because there are 2 other things I really want to hear from you about. One of them, I know there's a lot to unpack here, but maybe they're related. So I'll ask them all at the same time. Basically,
okay, perfect.
Protein and the role of protein.
Yeah.
And I know in there is like muscle, weight training, blood sugar. And then if you could just, and maybe I'll ask you this at the very end. I just would love to know like what foods work for you and what foods work against you.
Right.
Obviously, you know.
I know there's so much here, but I do like people's questions too. There's so much good stuff here. Okay. So first of all, so as you also, you know, when you first asked, you said, you know, what do you first tell women during the stage? So we've gone through some of the things we talked about, but these other 2 two things that you just asked me about are two things that I talk to women about too all the time during the stage. So let's start protein, protein, protein. You absolutely have to get your protein in. And that is why when women during the stage of life, their estrogen drops, so the metabolism shifting a little, their muscle mass decreasing, so they're gaining weight. And what happens is, what they do is they try to eat less and exercise more. What you're doing there is you eat less, you're stressing your body. You're not getting enough protein to build muscle. You're stressing your body. So your cortisol is raising, and then you're exercising too much and you're stressing your body more, so then that's all working against you. The under eating and over exercising, which is kind of the go-to for many women. That is just like the go-to. Hey, that worked when I was 25, that worked when I was 30 to lose 10 pounds, that, whatever, that worked to lose 5 pounds. They go right to that. And it is absolutely the worst thing you can do, because you stress your body. You're completely working against your hormones. Okay. So what we need to do is you got to get in but you don't have room for sort of the excess calories. You don't have room for, which we'll get into the foods that work against you, but let's stick with protein for a moment. You've got to get in adequate protein. And again, the reason I just went to the reduction of calories is because very often when I say that, when I look at someone's diet, when they've been trying to lose weight during this phase of life, I'm like, you aren't, I mean, you're not eating anything unhealthy, but you're not getting close to the amount of protein that you need. And the reason we need protein for many different reasons, but we need protein to maintain our muscle mass. Muscle mass is absolutely critical for our long-term health, our longevity and our health and the quality of our lives, not just the years, but the quality. So protein is critical, again, maintaining muscle mass, which will help us maintain our bone density. It is critical for us to to help manage blood sugar levels. So again, reasons that we need our muscle mass. So we need protein for our muscle mass, which helps us with blood sugar. We need protein for muscle mass for bone health. We need protein for helping. When we eat protein, we feel more satiated. We're more satisfied. We're less likely to overeat, the bread basket and the candy or junk or whatever's around that isn't going to be working for us. Fuel that's nutrient less, not nutrient dense. So we're less likely to eat that. Protein also has a higher TEF, which is the thermic effect of food. So just protein, you burn a certain amount of calories just metabolizing your food. This isn't like a dramatic amount. But I always like to remind people of that too. Just by the nature of protein metabolism, we're burning more calories than, let's say, when we're eating a bowl of pasta. So if you eat the same calories of protein or pasta, you're going to burn more calories just by digesting the protein. That's sort of just a little bonus thing I always like to say. But so protein is critical for muscle. Muscle is critical for our overall health and longevity. Really uber important for all the reasons I just mentioned. I feel like I'm trying to go through that so fast because there's so many different, we go into so many different things there. But but with that, I also like people to get in protein, consistently throughout the day. So, and the other thing that I like to remind people with protein, it's not just eating your protein consistently throughout the day. And I do like people to get about 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. So if you're 20 pounds overweight, don't use that. Use your ideal body weight, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And there's a lot of incredible people that all they do is protein and muscle mass. And there's a lot of incredible research there on the benefits of maintaining your muscle mass and how much protein you need to maintain your muscle mass. But all really,
do you have favorite proteins, by the way? We're saying protein, but like,
yeah. So
I know there's.
Yeah, so I like a combination of animal and plant protein. I eat a very heavy plant-based diet with adequate amounts of animal protein as well. So I have a big combination. I like to get my plants in for my antioxidants and fiber, and then I like animal protein as well for just good, high quality protein. Personally, also, I'm never satisfied. And I find that with many clients as well. I find many women, they're just not satisfied without having animal protein, but I always say really high quality, which is something else when it comes to food, just as high quality food as possible now. And I'm going to get into the foods that work for you versus against you in a moment. I just wanted to see if there's anything else I wanted to mention with protein before we move on. Oh, I know. I wanted to just mention, oh, sorry. Were you going to ask a question?
No, I was just going to say, I know the protein's related to muscle mass, and muscle mass, we want to talk quickly about weight training, which is a whole other category, but it's
Well,
very important, right?
those were two other things I was just going to say. I had mentioned the protein consistently through the day, but I really like people to get it in the morning to sort of set that tone for the day. Protein really critical to lay that foundation for satiety, for balance of hunger hormones, for balance of blood sugar. Really important to get your protein in the morning at breakfast. So that's really critical. But then also, I'm glad you just brought that up. In order for protein to do its work and to do its job as effectively as possible, you've got to weight train. And that's also something else that I think women sort of have off. And, again, if they haven't dove deep into this stage of life and they just started to gain a little weight during this time, they think, over exercise, lots of cardio, and under eat calories. And that's not what we need to do. We need to get in those adequate calories, the right types of calories, and you need to do the right type of exercise. And if I had to choose, I would say weight training above everything else. I happen to love yoga for the stress relieving, for the stretching, toning, there's so many different incredible reasons to do yoga. Even for the lymphatic system, I think that's also incredibly important. That's a whole other conversation. But I also like Pilates, but I do also, I think it is critical to do some weight training to build muscle mass. Absolutely critical. So protein and weight training, really, really important. Want to get into
Okay, so many questions are flying in, so I want to get to them, but quickly,
Let's talk
this
about
is kind
some
of,
food.
someone asked, like, what's a great protein snack to grab and go? And maybe that's a great way to start off with what foods, you have this great way of talking about foods that work for you, foods that work against you. Maybe we can talk a little bit about specific foods.
Okay, so again, when it comes to foods that work for you and foods that work against you, these are things that you probably heard before that you should have been doing your whole life. It's just we have to focus in even further on them. The foods that, let's just get the foods that are going to work against you out of the way. The foods that are going to work against you, just I'm telling you, we could go on and on and on about all the reasons why, but for inflammation, for disrupting your blood sugar, for all of these things that, are going to work against your brain health, your heart health, and cause weight gain, and all of these things, especially during this phase, are going to be the foods like highly processed and packaged foods. So highly processed things, chips, cookies, crack, all those things, again, highly processed. We're all going to have some foods that are somewhat processed, but like the highly processed foods we want to get rid of. Sugar, absolutely. I get rid of as much added sugar and sweets as possible. I've had a sweet tooth my entire life. That is one of my most difficult things to do. But it is working against your brain health. It is working against your weight. It is working against everything that you're trying to do during this phase of life. It is working against you. And anything else really that is inflammatory, many of those inflammatory oils, which really you're going to find just in those packaged, highly processed packaged foods. And then anything like the unhealthy added chemicals, so like dyes and gums and fillers that are, the unhealthy gums and fillers. So again, when you get rid of those highly packaged processed foods, you're going to be getting rid of most of those things. So and then and unhealthy fats, like the unhealthy fats, like that you'll find like hydrogenated fats, again, in those highly processed packaged foods.
Okay, quickly, like give us 3 to 5 foods that really work for us. And then I promise I'm going to get some of these questions. Actually, and there's a lot of people are asking about intermittent fasting, but let's just do foods first. What foods are working for us?
Okay, so foods that are going to work for you are going to be fruits and vegetables. First, I just want to say whole, real foods, organic as much as possible. I know organic is not always possible, accessible for everyone, but when you can, even like frozen fruits and vegetables, organic are a great option, but fruits and vegetables are going to be great for you. And again, they're good for you because we know they've got water volume, they've got antioxidants, which are anti-inflammatory. They have fiber and gut health, super important during this stage of life as well. That is also a whole other conversation, but fiber, gut health, super important during this phase of life. They can help also when the good bacteria in the gut ferment fiber, you create short chain fatty acids. Those short chain fatty acids are really important for your brain health, everything from increasing BDNF, which is sort of like that, people call it the miracle grow for the brain. It's that sort of otherwise known as helpful for brain and cognition. And then also known to also be helpful for just even mood and cognition. So fiber, brain health, we know that is an issue during this stage, but then also for weight and also even for bone health. even vegetables and bone health is even important. So all
So
of those
fiber, just fiber, you're getting a little bit from fruit and vegetables, right? But are you talking about like psyllium husk or like something
fiber,
like
yeah,
how do?
fiber and always, I'm just mentioning the benefit here when it comes to vegetables, but fiber in general. So also, I wanted to just mention cruciferous vegetables and leafy green vegetables. I love the leafy greens. And this is something that I would also say, if you're someone that knows, oh, I'm supposed to eat vegetables, I eat them here and there, get your green vegetables in, cruciferous and other leafy greens, at least twice a day. That creates a compound that helps manage your estrogen. So
Okay. And what do you think about intermittent fasting? I'm getting to some questions now.
Yeah, okay, we're getting right to those. Okay. I know there's so much to talk about. Okay, intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting I find can be incredibly beneficial for many people. So this is a really big topic. So intermittent fasting during the stage, for many people, it can be beneficial if it does not cause you stress, right? So if you're the type of person that naturally eats a little bit later in the day, if you maybe you have a schedule that you wake up a little bit later, maybe you were never really a breakfast person, but you can still have your first meal of the day be high in protein, like I mentioned, protein for breakfast before, and it really works with your lifestyle, you then can reap the benefits of it, which can be lower weight, which can be managing insulin. It can be improving your insulin resistance. It can even improve things like BDNF, which I just talked about for brain health and cognition. It can help with weight loss. So there's a big however. The big however is for people that maybe get up really early, get right to work, and are really used to having breakfast, and then they end up waiting. For them, it can cause stress, and that's going to work against you. It may also cause some people to then overeat at lunch, a worse type of a meal than they normally would have had. So if you have someone that used to eat like a healthy breakfast of a couple scrambled eggs and a slice of sourdough, and then have a salad with salmon, and all of a sudden now they're starving at lunch and they're grabbing 2 slices of pizza, well, that completely defeats the purpose. So for this stage, when it comes to intermittent fasting, for the most part, I really individualize it. It really depends on a person's history, on a person's lifestyle, what else they have going on. And again, it really is very, very individual, but I will say for mostly everyone, I do like the natural intermittent fast, which I say is 12 hours. So I would say the majority of the people, there are a few people that even go less than 12 hours. There's some people that could go longer, but for the majority of the people that I see, I kind of end up putting them into that 12 hours. You can reap some of the benefits of intermittent fasting, where you don't, pick late at night. You're not having extra, like the little snack or something before bed.
I'm such a picker late at night. It's the worst.
So you can reap those benefits without maybe stressing your body going to 14 to 16 hours or disrupting even your lifestyle there. I mean,
I want to just point out there's so many, like they're coming in fast and furious, the questions. We're going to try to get to as many as we can. Keri, you have such a font of knowledge that, it's hard to cut you off. But there is an email address what's the email address for Nutritious Life where people can put in their specific questions as well, or DM you on Instagram?
So info@nutritiouslife.com. And we can even add that in there, nutritiouslife.com. So info@nutritiouslife.com. And also you can follow me at Keri Glassman on Instagram, or at Nutritious Life Official, or both, and DM, and I'll make sure I get the Nutritious Life Official DM questions, or you can DM me directly, and I will be happy to get to as many of these questions as possible.
And we'll put those in the chat as well.
There's so
and for those of you who are questioning and talking about specific questions about hormones and birth control pills and estrogen, et cetera, that is really, we at Alloy, that's our specialty. And we have a whole bunch of YouTube. This will be recorded as well. Recorded and posted, and we'll share it with you. But there's also a lot of other webinars with OBGYNs and menopause and hormonal specialists there as well. And our website is myalloy.com. There's a lot of good material there. And I just want to throw those out there because I know in the next 9 minutes, we're probably not going to get to everything. And I'm so sorry. She's just too interesting and knowledgeable.
We'll have to do another one.
We will. And we have great attendance, and everyone has stayed the whole time, which is so great. I'm so thrilled you're all here.
Thanks, everyone. I want to help you all.
So quickly, what vitamins and minerals should we be taking? That's a good question.
Okay, so for vitamins and minerals, that again will be individual. It will depend on your diet. Obviously, I don't know who's asking this. I don't know anything about you, but I will say in general, in this stage, you want to make sure you're getting your calcium in, because as your muscle mass decreases during this stage, hopefully you're doing that weight training and getting that protein in and minimizing that. But you have to be worried about your bone density as estrogen decreases. So you may want to consider calcium. You might also want to consider vitamin D. You can still go out into the sunshine. You're not going to, but still, as we age, we often do need that vitamin D. So calcium, vitamin D. I also often like people to take an omega-3 essential fatty acid. And I like those omega-3s for brain health and cognition. Also, that can also help reduce hot flashes. That's been shown, not necessarily proven, but can be effective for some people. So omega-3 essential fatty acids, really, really important to get in, which also, by the way, getting your healthy fats in your diet is absolutely critical. I would say next to protein and fruits and vegetables, your healthy fats are really critical. But back to other supplements. So calcium, vitamin D, omega-3s, and probiotics can be really incredibly important during this stage. Again, for that gut health, we talked a teeny bit about gut health and the connection here with brain health and menopause. So probiotics, and there are even specific probiotics, because probiotics, there's specific strains. So during this stage, again, and depending upon the rest of your lifestyle and what else is going on, you do want to choose a probiotic with the right strain or combo of strains for you. But probiotics can also be really helpful during this stage of life. And then there's also like lots of supplements, again, that can be helpful. But
someone's asking about magnesium. And also, what's the rec for fiber per day? How many grams? But let's talk about magnesium first, and the grams of fiber.
Yeah. So magnesium, many people are deficient in magnesium, and there are different forms of magnesium. We have a lot of that actually on my website, nutritiouslife.com. So for example, you might want magnesium glycinate if you want it for calming and for sleep, and that can be really helpful to take before sleep. So magnesium absolutely could be something else that you might take. You might even take your magnesium with your calcium. And then
fiber, and how much fiber a day?
Yeah, 25 to 38 grams. So most people are getting about half of what they need. So you really do want to make sure that, that you're getting in your fiber from a variety of sources. And I had talked about those short chain fatty acids, and short chain fatty acids specifically, you need insoluble fiber and soluble fiber, but specifically your short chain fatty acids depend even more so on soluble fiber, which you're going to get from things like beans, oats, versus, wheat, for example.
These are two questions I've always been curious about, actually. I'm doing you two at a time so you can get more covered in more time.
Boom, boom, boom.
One of them is, do protein shakes have the same effect of natural protein from food? Really big question of mine, and also of someone else here. Another one is eating collagen versus drinking collagen, which is better? I've always wondered that as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. These are really good. Okay. So I look at protein from a protein smoothie as bonus. And yes, you can count it. Is it going to be as effective as, let's say, well, first of all, it depends on the type of protein. Are you having are you having whey protein? Are you having, a plant protein smoothie? So what kind of protein? But even regardless of even what type, I would say, let's say, organic, grass-fed and finished beef is probably still going to be somewhat more beneficial than a processed protein powder. But that's not to say that it's not effective, and it's not like a great way to get in an additional, let's say, 30 grams of protein as a snack, or a mini meal or something. That's a great way to get it in, would be a smoothie. But I wouldn't depend on all of it. That actual natural complete protein in something like a steak is going to be, the most beneficial. And I shouldn't say the most beneficial, you can still get adequate protein from even a vegan diet. You just have to be a little more focused and diligent with it. And I do really think it is very hard to, it's hard to meet your protein needs at this stage. It's just very hard. But again, for people that are vegan and are doing and want to be, there are ways to get your adequate protein in, and smoothies is a great way to help fill that gap. And then you asked about collagen.
Yep.
Well, collagen's the most abundant protein there's research that there's research showing, getting your collagen in a supplement form is incredibly beneficial. Joints, bones, skin, many reasons that collagen is beneficial. There's also research that shows, well, the collagen is just broken down and then your body is rebuilding it. So you don't really need to take the supplement. There's kind of both sides there. I happen to feel that if you want to spend the money and you don't mind spending it to have the supplement and you want to get that extra collagen in, go for it. It's not going to be harmful, and it really may be beneficial to get it in as well in that supplement form.
Beautiful.
I feel like I'm like trying. I'm like
I know,
like
it's
speed
just like
dating.
putting
I'm
you
like
on the spot. Yeah, totally. Speed advice.
I hope I'm not
Well,
talking too fast, everyone. You can, yeah.
I mean, we will definitely knowing how much everyone wants to know and how well this is going. We'll certainly do this again. It's a lot of fun. A couple of different people, though. I think this probably would be a great way to end it because we have a few minutes left. And I know we both have to go after this, but can you reinforce or restate the 8 pillars you were talking about at the beginning? I think that's a great way to
yeah,
end.
absolutely. Thanks. Okay, so I love talking about this. So, and you can also go to nutritiouslife.com and you can check them all out right there. But we've got Eat Empowered, which is, our eating pillar. We have Drink Up, which is that hydration pillar. We have Love More, which is the community connection relationship pillar. Live Consciously, which is all about, your environment, your world at large, but also your actual personal environment. What are you putting on your body? Things, and all of these things actually can be endocrine disruptors. We didn't even get to that, like obesogens, which is also something else with hydration, by the way. We should have mentioned water, really filtered water, very, very important. Do you want to have that filtered water so you don't have those, obesogens and toxins that can be in there that can be disruptive to your hormones. Okay, so live more, love consciously, sweat often, sleep deep, stress less. Did I get to all of them? Stress less. Did I get to all of them? Stress less, sleep deep, love
You have
more,
2 more minutes. Let's hear them again.
live consciously.
Eat empowered.
Eat empowered, drink up, sleep deep, stress less, love more, live consciously, nurture yourself. Did I get to what else? What did I not do? Sleep deep, stress less, drink up, love more, sweat often.
And they all sound good. Sweat. I
think I got to all of them. Sweat often. Did I not say that one?
I mean, when I
think I'd have these in like a I think I repeated a couple of them and then say the other, you think I would have them like in a song by now. Oh, sleep deep. Did you say sleep deep?
I think so, but I think that, so I find like all of those listed together, I'm like, oh my God, the thing that I hear the most is stress less. I'm trying to remember all 8, but I think really you've done a wonderful job of like giving us very actionable things we can do on almost all of those pillars. I'm so grateful to you and to all of you for coming and listening to us chat about this. There's so much more to talk about. Please go to Nutritious Life or My Alloy to learn more about both of these things. The websites are in the chat, and we will be sending you all an email follow up with this video and with the coupon codes repeated and all of that. And there are ways to reach us in here as well. So grateful to you, Keri. Thank you so much, and congratulations on all you've accomplished.
Oh, thank you. This was so fun. And anyone, please feel free, reach out with any questions, because I know we flew through a lot here.
Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you soon.